Good evening, everyone. We are waiting for more folks to come into the Zoom, so bear with us just one moment. We'll probably get started at about 6:02. For those of you just joining us, we're waiting for a few more folks to come on in before we get started. We'll get started in just a minute here. Okay, it looks like it's slowing down a little bit. Okay, well, good evening, everyone. Hello, students, parents, family members, and guests. Welcome to the University of Mary Washington. We're so excited to have you joining us for tonight's session, introducing you to what to expect at summer orientation. My name is Sarah Lindberg. I am the director of first year admission here at Mary Washington, and I am joined with Miss Lily Lester, assistant director of new student programs. We are going to talk along with you this evening through some logistics for our webinar before we get started talking about orientation registration and what to expect coming this summer. If you would like to turn on captions, there is a closed caption button for you at the bottom of your Zoom screen. We are in webinar mode, which is different than any of our other webinars that you may have joined us for previously. So, unless you are a panelist, you are automatically muted and your video is shut off. This webinar is set up as a presentation with a live Q&A. We are recording this session this evening and it will be available for you on the admissions YouTube channel as well as the orientation website if you would like to watch the recording back in the next couple of days. We will also email it out to any students that have attended this evening as well. We have a few members of our staff supporting us behind the scenes tonight, answering all of your questions as you add them to the Q&A. We might answer your question during the presentation, but feel free to add it to the Q&A box whenever the mood strikes you. If someone asks your question in the Q&A box, you have the same question, you do have the ability to upvote by liking that question. Upvoting questions will bring them to the top for our panelists to see. I will not answer, or Lily will not answer questions out loud from the Q&A box during the presentation. So look for questions to be answered from me in the chat, or well, in the Q&A in text format until we get to the end of our presentation. Once we're finished, we will mute our screens and we will be on screen for you to see us, and we'll answer the questions that are in the Q&A box at that time that haven't been answered yet. So now that our housekeeping is out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Lily. Lily?
Hey, thank you so much, Sarah. Hi, everyone. As Sarah said, my name is Lily Lester. I am the Assistant Director of New Student Programs here at the University of Mary Washington. So we are going to be spending a lot of time together this summer. I'll be with you throughout your orientation experience into New Student Welcome, which is our early arrival for new students come August. So you'll be seeing a lot of me this summer. And so I'm excited to get to know each and every one of you. Tonight, we're going to run through a few things, mostly about orientation, just kind of some what to expect, the important dates that you'll need to know, when our orientation sessions are, when registration is going to open, what to expect from your orientation experience. We're going to do kind of a light what to expect with a deep dive coming later on in about May, right before your orientation, so you know exactly what to expect, what to bring, things like that. We are going to talk about how to prepare, things that you can start thinking about right now. And then we're going to go really deep dive into how to register for your orientation session. I've got screenshots and everything. So please feel free to watch this back as many times as you need to as you go through the registration process. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about extended orientation and pre-arrival programs, some options that you might want to try on as you go throughout your summer of transition to life at Mary Washington. So just some options for you to be thinking about. And then I'm going to lightly touch on New Student Welcome, which I've already mentioned is just that program in August that really complements your summer June orientation experience. So that's what we're going to get into tonight. First and foremost, some information about orientation itself. And I'm going to take a second to apologize now if I cough or sneeze. I'm fighting a little bit of a cold right now. So apologies for that if that happens. But about orientation, first and foremost, we know that many of you all are planning on coming to our upcoming destination days put on by our Office of Admissions. And those events and programs are different from one another. Our destination days are for students who have either deposited or not deposited and are deciding if UMW is right for them. And are a great way to get to know campus and to get to know the community a little bit better. Orientation really deep dives into some more logistics of, okay, you have decided you're a student now. It is time to start thinking about what are my next steps. What things do I need to complete and tasks do I need to complete before I actually get ready for starting my classes in August. And so, because of that, we have a separate student programming track and guest programming track. And so, yes, if you're on the fence about coming to Destination UMW, on the fence about coming to orientation, it is our greatest encouragement that you do both, that you come to both, because they are separate, they're different, and they've got different information. For our guests specifically, Destination UMW, you're spending some time with your student, you're spending some time separate from your student. Orientation, you are spending the majority of the time separate from your student. So you check in with them, you spend the morning with them, and then they separate off at about 10 a.m. and come back together around 2 p.m. And then for the evening time of orientation, you're spending some time separate as well as day two, which we'll get into a little bit later. But just know, guests, that we've got some specific, intentionally designed programming for you at orientation. And so we're excited to have you join us for both of those separate programs. Um, Orientation is about getting acquainted with campus, getting acquainted with our resources, the many things that we have to offer. It's also about creating connections with other new Eagles. Again, Destination Day is starting to build those connections and relationships at orientation. Okay, we're all going here. We know that this is our place, so let's really start to build some friendships that we can sustain with us come August and into this semester. And again, navigating those next steps and really getting ready for the fall semester. So, orientation is a very important program that is really intentionally designed for our students and for their guests. So when is it? Orientation is going to happen in June. It always happens in June. And so please feel free, take a picture of this if you want to, but also know that all of these dates are on our website. If you ever want to find any of the information, just Google UMW orientation and you will be able to find it. It's the first link that pops up, and it will have all of this information. Our orientation sessions begin. The first one will begin on June 10th and go until June 11th, all the way through our last offering for first year students being June 25th and 26th, with the others falling in the middle. Transfer orientation dates this summer are going to be June 12th and June 29th. And so those are the dates that we have available for you to register for starting on Tuesday, March 10th at noon. So again, that is 1 week from today. That is when our registration will officially open. So you cannot register for these quite yet, not right now. That's why we're doing this webinar a week in advance to give you the information that you need so that by the time registration opens, you know what to do, how to do it, and you're ready for it. And so these are the dates to choose from. And so start looking at these, which ones meet with your graduation, with your travel plans for the summer. So these are the session dates that we have available, again, that you can register for starting next Tuesday. What to expect from orientation? Our first year orientation is going to be a 2-day overnight experience for every new student, regardless of whether or not they are living on campus in the fall semester. And so if you are an incoming first year student, meaning you are coming directly out of high school, you will have a 2-day overnight orientation experience and you will stay on campus with us. So if you're living on campus in the fall, you're going to stay in one of those residence halls overnight, which is really exciting to get to know what it's like. If you are an off-campus student and you're not living with us in the fall, you will still be staying with us overnight for orientation, as it is part of the program. During orientation, you'll check in by about 8:30 a.m. and have programming until day two at noon. So again, you saw that those orientation dates were June 10th, 11th, 15th through 16th because it is a Tuesday overnight program, but it only goes from 8:30 a.m. day one until about noon on the next day. There is programming into the evening, which is why you stay on campus with us because we have that programming that goes all the way through to bedtime and then starts kind of right as we wake you up the next morning. If you are an incoming transfer student, you will have a 1 day orientation experience. Check in also by 8:30 a.m. But your programming will end by 5 p.m. that day. That is for incoming transfer students. So if you're transferring from another university or a community college, or for various reasons coming in as a transfer student. So our orientations look a little bit different for our first year students than they do for our transfer students. So, preparation for orientation, our guests. I know it's a ways out, but you might want to start looking now, especially if you are registering next week. You've got your date locked down, and you know, okay, I'm coming to the June 22-23 session. Then you can start looking for hotels because guests, we ask that you make your overnight accommodations if you don't live within driving distance of campus. So our students are going to be staying with us on campus in a residence hall. Guests will need to make their own accommodations to stay overnight unless you live within driving distance and feel comfortable kind of coming back and forth for the 2 days. But we do have a list of local hotels on our orientation website. Again, if you just Google UMW orientation, you'll find it right there. Some of our hotels that are local to the area that we recommend. And there are a good amount that are walking distance from campus, even. Um, and then another thing to know is that our UMW offices will be open during the regular business hours during orientation. And so, if you're looking to talk to financial aid, disability resources, any of our various offices that you would just like to have a conversation with, they will be open 8 to 5 regular hours during orientation. And so, there's a lot of business between now and then that I'm sure you're going to want to get to take care of, but know that you can also speak with them during that time. And I know it's a ways out, so you might be thinking, I'm going to forget everything I need to by then. Feel free to start making a list of things that you want to ask at orientation, or take care of those items before you get here in person in June. Students, some things to prepare for your orientation. First and foremost is to make sure to know your net ID and password. And so if you are deposited, you should likely already have this. If you've just very recently deposited, you might not have this yet. And if you're not deposited yet, you won't have it quite yet. But this is going to be your lifeline at UMW. Your net ID is going to be that first chunk of your email before the @mail.umw.edu. And your password is whatever you set it to. So just make sure that you have that information because registering for orientation is going to take you through your admissions portal. So you'll need your admissions portal login. Everything after that, you're going to need to know your net ID and password, because that is how you're going to get into every single UMW system from here on out. Um, and a good thing to do is to get in the habit of checking your UMW email account. Try to check it every single day, especially after you've registered for orientation. We are going to communicate through that at UMW at mail.umw.edu email account very frequently with information about orientation. So make sure that you are checking it very frequently. Now, what to pack for orientation? Again, I know we're a ways out, but we want to make sure that you all have the information up front, just to get ahead of some questions that we know you might have. And because I know I like to be as prepared in advance as possible, we are going to repeat all of this information. So if you forget this, no worries at all. But packing for orientation, we do not provide linens, so we ask that you bring any towels, sheets, blankets, pillows, things that you might need to stay comfortable for the night. Of course, we will be putting you in a residence hall for first year students. So there will be a bed, there will be a bathroom, things like that. But go ahead and bring any linens that you'll need for the night. Orientation is a casual affair, and so comfortable clothing and shoes are a must, especially I know it is impossible to imagine it being warm outside right now with how cold it's been. If any of you all are joining us from Virginia, the snow that we got yesterday, but it is going to be very warm in Virginia in June, so make sure that you're dressing comfortably for the weather, and bring appropriate shoes to be doing a decent amount of walking around campus. Also bring any toiletries that you need to feel comfortable. Again, we will be providing a bathroom with a shower, because you will be staying in a residence hall for the night. Um, Again, Virginia weather, sunscreen and rain boots because you never know what's going to happen. If you would like to get your UMW ID, please bring a driver's license or any kind of government issued ID. You will need that to get your UMW Eagle One card. That is how you scan in and out of buildings, how you use your meal plan. The thing that you will use very frequently is your UMW Eagle One card. And so make sure that you have identification to be able to get that if you would like. And most importantly, a good attitude. Again, we're getting into some details because I know that preparation in advance is something that is really important. But if you forget any of this, we're gonna say it over and over again, like 100 more times before you come to us in June. So now, here's the important part, how to actually register for your orientation session. Again, if you are ever feeling lost, Google UMW orientation and it'll pop up. But our actual website is orientation.umw.edu. That is where you're going to access our registration system, as well as all of the other information that you're going to hear tonight will be located on our website. So if you go to orientation.umw.edu, the very first page that pops up is going to say, Welcome to the UMW community with some information. And there's a big blue button. I put this red arrow here. The red arrow is not on the website. The red arrow is just for me to show you. But the big blue button that says register here for your summer orientation. That button is there now. And so as I walk you through the rest of the steps, you'll be able to get about halfway through if you try right now, but then you'll eventually get a screen that says, oh, and come back on March 10th to be able to complete your registration. So if you want to follow along with me for a little bit of it, feel free to. But just know that on March 10th at 12 p.m. at noon is when that registration will officially open, and you'll be able to complete all of the steps of this. So again, we're going to click on that register here for your summer orientation button, and that is going to take you to a separate web page with a photograph of our incredible orientation leaders who are so excited to meet you this summer and can't wait to walk you through your orientation experience. You're going to scroll down from there, and that is where you're going to see a list of sessions. And these are the dates that we discussed earlier. So if you are a first year student, you are going to go to the section that says first year orientation and select a date next to one of the green boxes that you are interested in registering for. So let's say, for example, that I know that June 23rd and 24th is what works best with my schedule. So that is what I'm going to click on the blue text next to the green box. That's going to take you to the specific registration for that event. Transfer students, you're going to scroll a little bit further and you're going to see the exact same thing with your two transfer orientation date options. And so that is where you're going to click on either June 12th or June 29th, and that is the session that you register for. Once you are in there, you are going to log in with your email address and password for the admissions portal. And so this might not necessarily be your net ID and password, but it is whatever email address and password you use to get into your admissions portal. This is the one that you're paying your deposit in. This is the one that you will have used up until this point. So make sure that you have that information. If you've already deposited, make sure you go back and write it down if you haven't already. If you are still waiting to deposit and about to deposit, make sure that as soon as you set that information, you write it down so you have it, because you will need it to get back in for your orientation registration.
It's the same login information that you use to complete your first year questionnaire, where the login information you use to see your admissions decision as well as your financial aid award letter. So it's that login information. So typically it is the email address that you used on your application for admission that is your username. And then the password is what you set up.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah.
No problem.
Once you are all logged in, it's going to take you to that session. And so under my example, it seems as though I'm registering for June 1st. Also, you're gonna see a name throughout here a few times. The name is Pepper. That is my dog. She is our test student. She's a Chihuahua, if anybody's curious. But she's registering for orientation. She's an incoming first year student this summer, and she's coming to June 10th through 11th. And so this is the landing page that you will see once you're all logged in for the orientation session that you're registering for. And so then you'll scroll down from here, and that is where you will be able to put in information. Some of this information might be pre-populated because you've already been in here before. As you can see, Pepper's name is already in here, my lovely Chihuahua. But you're going to fill out everything else. It's mostly just some general information, student information on the first page. We are going to ask for an emergency contact. This is really important because you are staying the night with us overnight. Now, this emergency contact can be somebody that you are bringing with you as a guest, but it does not have to be. So if your emergency contact is dad, but mom is coming with you to orientation, that's totally fine. If you are attending orientation without a guest, we still ask that you put an emergency contact. That is necessary information for us to have. And so we've got some information there for you to fill out for your emergency contact, which we will reconfirm with you on the day of your orientation. We're going to ask a few other questions about your housing status, if you're expected to come to campus, living on campus, off campus. This is going to look a little bit different for each person, depending on if you're living on or off campus. In our example, Pepper, my dog, lives off campus, which she does. That is the truth. And then we're going to ask for your preferred t-shirt size as well. Hint, hint, you may be getting a surprise at orientation. We're also going to ask you all some information about what you're interested in, and maybe some things that you might be concerned about. That this helps us to tailor your orientation experience to you specifically. We've got a few things throughout the day of your orientation, including some workshops, that we want to be able to assign you specifically to some things, that meet some needs that you're looking for. So again, talking to you about some interests that you may have, and then also some concerns that you may have, addressing those concerns up front. Also giving us some information to give to your orientation leader so that they can talk to you about those things as well. So, and if these things change, these aren't tying you to anything. If you say, man, I'm so interested in bingo and then you never attend a bingo while you're on campus, we won't be checking that. But we hope you attend bingo. Bingo is a huge thing at Mary Washington. But just know that this is not going to tie you to anything and it's not going to declare any, involvements or majors or anything like that for you. This is just so we can gauge interest. And also helps us with our offerings for summer orientation, because if there are a ton of people who are very concerned about time management, that gives us the information that we need to be able to input some more sessions about time management, to help our new students with what they're specifically concerned about or interested in. We are going to ask about accommodations, and this one is very important. We are going to ask you about dietary restrictions. And so that one is important for us to be able to make sure that we've got the correct food to accommodate you. And we, if you are seeking an accommodation for orientation, we ask that you please email us at orientation@umw.edu. And so that email is on the screen right here. Again, that's orientation@umw.edu. We ask that you use the subject line something similar to disability related accommodation need, whatever you need to signal to us that, like, hey, I'm requesting an accommodation for orientation. If you are going through the Office of Disability Resources, to request an accommodation for the semester, that will not begin until the semester starts. And so we are happy to provide any accommodations that are requested, but we need you to tell us separately just because of information sharing, that we can't necessarily know what accommodations you've requested through the Office of Disability Resources. And so if you are requesting specific accommodations for your orientation experience, we ask that you just reach out to us to let us know. For example, if you need an ASL interpreter or, a room with a door opener, those are things that we are absolutely happy to provide. We just need you to let us know. And it can be as simple as an email that's like, hey, by the way, need this, come into this session. Sick. Thank you. That's all that we need. And so just make sure that you let us know that. We do have a little statement that you'll acknowledge that you've read that, and then a checkbox to say, I feel that I need accommodations. But again, all that that tells us is that you've said you need them. So we request that you email us so that we have the specific information so that we can begin to make preparations for your accommodation. And so please also do this as early as possible because, again, just so that we can make arrangements for your accommodations, so that when you show up to orientation, you can have as comfortable an experience as possible. For our guests, if guests are looking to join students, if you're looking to have a guest with you, we will have a separate guest registration that will give us some information about your guest so that we can, again, make sure that we have accommodations ready, dietary restrictions met, have the correct food for all of our students and their guests. It will be $50 to bring a guest to a first year orientation. It is $25 to bring a guest to a transfer orientation, and that mostly pays for the food. But it also pays for a few other little things that we do throughout the orientation session. But it is, some meals provided, continental breakfast, lunch, dinner, coffee, as well as breakfast the next morning for both our students and our guests. And so again, the guest fee is going to be $50 per guest for first year orientation and $25 per guest for transfer orientation. After that, you're going to see this little blurb right here that says we look forward to seeing you. You're going to click submit and then you will be confirmed. You'll get a little confirmation text that will pop up as well as an email that will come after. Again, we've asked that you check your UMW email because you should expect email communication from us in the coming months about your orientation. Um, if you are registering a guest, you will get a link to pay for their registration shortly after submitting. And so you do not pay in the portal. You will get an email that says, hey, thanks so much for registering your guest. Go ahead and pay via this link in an email that comes pretty shortly after. And so that is how we will know that your guest is definitely coming and that we can make the correct arrangements for them to be there. Um, so, yeah. And that's how you register for orientation. A few other like little housekeeping things before we get to answering more of you all's questions. You have some options when it comes to orientation. If you're like, hey, this orientation, fantastic, loved it, I can't get enough of it, and I want more of it. That's me, obviously, I work here. But we have some options for you. The first of which is an extended orientation program called SOAR. You'll notice everything is very eagle themed. But SOAR is our Summer Outdoor Adventure Retreat, is what that stands for. And that is run through campus recreation. So if you are an outdoorsy, outsidey type person, this is going to be the session for you to meet other new students who are also outdoorsy. That is going to be June 26th. So it's going to be tied to our session 5 of orientation. So if you know, hey, that's me, I'm an outdoorsy kind of person, I would love to go hiking, like camping without the staying outside, I don't think. But I'm an outsidey type of person. Register for our orientation session 5, first year orientation session, so that you can attend SOAR. Registration for that is not going to open until April 14th, but that registration is going to open on the same portal as you're registering for your orientation in. And so that is an option for our new students. Similarly is the NEST program. That is a pre-arrival program for our new students. So new student welcome, which we'll talk about in a second, is mandatory for all students. NEST is 5 days before that, optional, for about 100 new students. So registration for this opens on April 14th as well. So if you're interested in a pre-arrival program that will get you in 5 days even sooner than the rest of the incoming class, go ahead and mark April 14th in your calendar because the spots do fill up very fast. NEST is a program that is all about helping you get acclimated to life on campus before the rest of the incoming students arrive. It is so much fun. NEST comes out of my office, and it is one of my favorite times of year because it is orientation, new student welcome, all of these things it's fun mixed with information, things you need to know. Nest really gets to focus on the fun, excuse me, um, and really helping with the community building piece. And so if you're coming in thinking like, hey, making new friends, I want to hit the ground running with that, Nest is a great program for you. City as Text is another pre-arrival program. This one is for all of our students in the Honors College. So if you know that you're going to be coming in as an honors student, that is going to be August 16th through 19th. That does mean if you are participating in City as Text, if you are an honors student, that you cannot participate in NEST. But that is okay because we do lots of activities together, and City as Text meets a lot of the same needs with community building and helping you to make some friends up front. City as Text is mandatory for all honor students. So just make sure that if you are an honor student, you mark that date in your calendar because your move-in day will be August 16th instead of August 19th. Soft landings is another option that we have specifically for students on the autism spectrum to help them acclimate to campus life a little bit sooner. And so that is another option. It is run out of our Dean of Students office. We are going to have a full webinar coming with further details about every single one of these 4 programs. So if you're like, hey, that sounds great, I would love to know more, we will be doing another webinar that deep dives each one of these specifically. But if you're intrigued, interested, and you just want to learn more about these now, you can always reach out to us at orientation@umw.edu, and we'll be happy to talk you through them and answer any questions that you have about them sooner rather than later as well. And then new student welcome is kind of what's going to round out your summer before you begin classes in the fall. And that this year is going to be August 19th through 23rd. And so move in for all new students is going to be on August 19th for on and off campus students. Well, move in for on campus students, but new student welcome is for on and off campus students. So if you're an incoming first year student, It is mandatory. You move in August 19th and you've got activities from August 19th through 23rd. If you are an incoming transfer student, if you're living on campus, you will still move in on August 19th. And these activities, there are some mandatory for transfer students, but you're not as programmed every single day as the first year students. If you're an off-campus student, if you're a first year off-campus student, this is mandatory for you. And so August 19th through 23rd, expect to be driving to campus every single day for these mandatory activities. If you're an off-campus transfer student, again, same as the on-campus transfer students, you'll have a few things that are mandatory. That Friday, August 20th, is a day that you're really going to want to mark in your calendars if you are a transfer student, because we've got some mandatory programming that day for our transfers. But again, first year's August 19th through 23rd. Um, Transfers, I think I totally lied. That Friday would be the 21st, not the 20th, because if Wednesday is the 19th, yeah, that's how calendars work. So if you're a transfer student, Friday, August 21st is going to be the day for you to mark on your calendar. And so as I've said, if you have any questions, there are some ways to keep in touch with us. This is another great thing to take a picture of if you want to be able to contact us later. But just know that this information is also on our website. But our email is orientation@umw.edu. I'm checking this consistently along with our student coordinators who help plan orientation. There are four of them, so between the five of us, we're checking it Monday through Friday. And we're excited to talk to new students. My student coordinators are so excited to talk to new students. Hit them with any question that you have. No question is too simple or too small to just shoot us a quick email. They're very excited to talk to you. You can also call us. Our phone number is 540-654-1061. That is the combined phone number for student activities and engagement and new student programs. And so we have a front desk that works that phone from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. So you can always call us. If it's outside of business hours, leave a voicemail and we'll get back to you. You can also DM us on Instagram. Our student coordinators are also checking Instagram pretty consistently. So even if it's just a little like, hey, I'm excited about this thing or whatever it might be, go ahead and DM us on Instagram. We're at UMW NSP, that stands for University of Mary Washington New Student Programs. And then, of course, lots of information on our website, orientation.umw.edu. And so most important thing, get excited. I can't wait. I love orientation. It is my absolute favorite thing. Obviously, again, I work here. I'm a little bit biased, but I can't wait to meet you all and to start helping you to make connections and start to feel at home at UMW. Thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight, and I think it's time to turn it over to Sarah for questions.
All right, we've gotten some good ones in here. So I have gone through and answered all of them in the chat. So if you have questions that haven't been answered yet, please go ahead and put them in there. And again, upvote the ones that you would like us to get to first. So a couple of questions. First, Lily mentioned that you could potentially start your form prior to March 10th. It's best to wait. Just wait until March 10th to get into your registration and go ahead and register at that point in time because the system, while is slightly available to you, it goes live on March 10th. So if you go in and start it, I can't guarantee that it's going to be saved. So just wait until March 10th. You will receive an email from admissions and new student programs letting you know that it is open. I cannot stress enough what Lily has said about your emails. Your UMW email, please get in the habit of starting to check that now, as well as the email that you used on your application for admission. And we know sometimes emails that come from admissions can sometimes get caught in promotions or even spam or junk mail. And it's kind of stinky that way. But so a way to make sure that our messages are coming through, I've got two recommendations for you. One, go into your Gmail or iCloud, because that's what 99% of you have, and make sure admit@umw.edu and your personal admissions counselor. So if you're one of my students, it's S. Lynn Burr, drop the G off my last name, at umw.edu. And make sure that those are like priority senders so that those email messages go to your inbox as opposed to your promotions or spam folders to help with that. But the other way to combat that is to also be checking your UMW email. Okay. As we move through the summer, offices on campus are going to stop using the email that you used on your application and they are going to start using your UMW email address. Admissions, we always use both, but other offices will only use that UMW email. So make sure that you make it a habit to check that one. Also, your password expires. Lily, do you remember what it is right now? Is it every 60 days?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, it's either 60 or 90 days. So you want to make sure that you're in there regularly and you can update your password so you don't get locked out of the UMW email as well. Um, there was a question about what platform students use to check their email. It is through Outlook and Office 365. Your UMW NetID and password email that you received from us has instructions on how to get to where you log in for your email. Um,
Really quickly, that a super easy thing that we inform students of at orientation, but is easy to get in the habit of early, is bookmark umw.edu/in. Like like I made it, I'm in, yeah, kind of a thing. Like umw.edu/in. That has all of the tools that you might need, including Outlook and being able to log into your email from there. And I really quickly also wanted to add, based on the registration on opening on March 10th. If you are registering on March 10th or around March 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, you are almost guaranteed to get a spot in the orientation session that you want. Please don't worry about, oh, I have to be right on it at noon on March 10th, or I'm not going to get the session that I want, because our orientation registration, again, it opens on a certain day, but it stays open, and we've got over 100 spots available in every single one of these sessions. So if you're at work, at school, and you don't feel like you can get in there right at noon, that's okay. You'll still be able to get the one session that works with your schedule, as long as you do it, within the first week.
So there's a question that says, how many incoming freshmen does UMW usually have each year? So we are looking to bring in about 725 to 750 first year students. But when you add in our transfer populations, which is actually pretty significant, that number goes up because we'll bring in approximately about 275 transfer students as well. We've hit the questions in the Q&A. I think we did a good job with this one, Lily. The screenshots of the new system of how we register, I think really helped with the questions that we get. So there was a questions about the pre-arrival programs. Again, Lily mentioned this. There will be some session. There will be a webinar later on that goes into a deep dive into that. The honors program webinar has already been set up. If you have been offered admission to the honors program, should have received the invitation to that webinar. If you have not, check in with your admissions counselor. We will make sure that you get that, because that's coming up in mid-March, and they will talk about City as Text in that session because City as Text is required for honors program students.
I will
Question. Oh,
really
uh,
interested in the Nest program. You can go to our website again, UMW Orientation, Google it, you'll find it. There's pre-arrivals as one of the tabs on the left side of the website. Find Nest there, and you'll be able to see last year's schedule. This year's schedule is going to be almost the exact same thing. So if you want to know what Nest is like, what Nest is all about, find last year's schedule, and you'll be able to know what this year is going to be like as well. But again, do it. It's so fun. I love Nest so much.
so next question. How early do you need to submit your deposit to be able to register for orientation? Orientation registration stays open until orientation happens. Okay, so you need to make sure that if you know Mary Washington is where you want to be and we are your number one choice and you are coming to us, we welcome you to go ahead and submit that deposit as soon as you have made that decision. Um, as soon as you submit your deposit, you will be able to take some of those onboarding next steps that have already been released. So we've mentioned the UMW Net ID and password, but also the first year questionnaire, which is used by our team in academic services to help schedule you into your first semester of classes, as well as put you into your first year seminar course. And the housing and dining application just opened up this past week. Now, all of these things are still going to remain available. Again, we don't max those out. Those are things everybody has to do. But you should be making your decision about where you want to enroll no later than May 1st. But if you already know, feel free to go ahead and submit that deposit so that you can start taking some of these next steps. It gets really exciting and makes it real. right? There is a question about move-in for student athletes. So if you are a student athlete who is a fall sport, so that would be men's and women's soccer, volleyball, field hockey, yep, and men's and women's rugby. Yes, there is a early move-in for those students. Those students will receive their move-in information, like the date that you are expected to arrive to campus, from your coach. So please touch base with them. If you are a athlete, but you are not a fall sport, so my swimmers, my basketball players, my lacrosse players, soccer, softball, all of you, and if I forgot you, I'm sorry, all of you, track and field, will move in at the regular August 19th date unless you decide to do a pre-arrival program. Can students who have not accepted yet register for orientation days? Lily?
Not quite yet. You do have to pay your deposit to be able to access that portion of the system to be able to register for your orientation. But I believe, Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong, you should be able to start completing those steps within a few days after depositing.
Correct. Yep.
So,
So as soon as you deposit, you will start getting that information the next day. And we don't throw it all at you at one time. They are timed. So one step comes each day, so that it can be a little less overwhelming. If you are an on-campus student, the deposit is $550. That is $300 for enrollment, and $250 for housing. Do know that that $300 for the enrollment deposit actually shows as a credit on your first bill, so it's not a separate fee. And then housing, that deposit is used as a like a security deposit, like you would if you were going and renting an apartment somewhere. They use it for any damages that are associated in your room, and then once you satisfy your housing contract, it is released as long as it hasn't been spent. Uh, I did that one. Yes, students can only get their UMW Net ID after they make their deposit. So again, if you are ready, go ahead and make that deposit, and we'll get you started on those next steps. All right. Any other questions? All right. Again, we did record the session this evening, so it will be available on playback for you on the admissions YouTube channel within the next couple of days. So give us some time to get it up there. But you will be seeing that shortly. We will also send you a link to the recording via email as well. And we hope you guys have a great night.
yes. And if you have any questions about orientation, please email us or call us. We're excited to talk to you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Have a good night.